Hi, and welcome to A Positive Thought. I created this daily podcast because life is hard and it's actually impossible to be positive all the time. But I hope today's thought will give us a chance to stop, reflect, and have a moment of gratitude in our day, even if that moment is small, because we're all a work in progress. This is just a reminder. And today, more than most, I want to remind you guys that I am not a professional, I'm not a therapist or anything. I'm just someone who's trying to talk about the things I'm going to talk about the things I'm going through and spread some light and positivity. But today's episode is a little bit heavier, and it was heavy for me as I was writing it. I took a lot of personal details out of it actually. But this is really, really important and a close one to heart. So I don't want anyone to think I'm trying to be a therapist today, because I am not. I'm just talking. It's what I do best. I'm your host, Candice B, and today's thought is, it's okay to forgive yourself. This is one of those things that's important but can be hard to do depending on your personality and any trauma you might have. And there are 3 reasons that immediately come to my mind when I think about forgiving yourself. The first is forgiveness for harming yourself or others. Every single person listening to this has done something to hurt themselves or someone else, and most of us have done both. Sometimes it's the big things like lying, cheating, or stealing, but usually it's something else, because there are a lot of things that can hurt people. Now, again, I'm not a therapist or professional. I'm only sharing my thoughts. But when this happens, I think a few things have to come into play for you to forgive yourself. The first thing is accepting responsibility for what you've done. This is a step that's easy to fake for other people, but not easy to fake for yourself. Own your part in whatever happened. Think about why you did it and how you let things progress the way that they did. Really sit with your feelings. If you've already been thinking about forgiving yourself, you may have done this, because I think it's pretty necessary for you to even have guilt in the first place, After that, I think it's best to make amends for what you did. That might be apologizing, providing restitution, or, well, there's a million things, right? Because each situation is specific. But make sure you do what needs to be done. Then remember that you are human. We all make mistakes, and you aren't the first or last to make your particular mistake. You're going to have to make room in your heart and mind to accept all the things that make you who you are, including the bad things you've been through and the bad things you've caused. It takes time, but it will come. And remember, even though you might make mistakes again, you will always do what's right in the end. The second thing that comes to my mind when I'm thinking about forgiving yourself is when you think you've allowed yourself or someone else to be hurt. This might be the case when you find yourself in an abusive situation, or maybe you witnessed something happen to someone else and you couldn't or wouldn't do anything to help. In this situation, it's all about being real with yourself, in my opinion. If you were in an abusive situation, you were the victim. We talk a lot about being strong and what we would do and what we wouldn't do, but most of us have no clue until it happens to us. If you've come out of abuse or some other awful situation, that's amazing. You are a survivor. Congratulate yourself on that. Never forget what you've gone through so that history doesn't repeat itself, but also work on letting go. Guilt no longer serves you because you've made it through. Don't allow guilt to keep the abuse alive in your life, because honestly, you deserve to be happy. You deserve to spend the rest of your life living in joy. Repeat whatever affirmations you need every day until you believe, but here's one for you. I deserve happiness. I deserve joy. I deserve to live a life of beauty and freedom. I say this every single day. Look at yourself and say it until you believe it's true. If you haven't made it out of your situation yet, remember that it is a cycle. You aren't terrible. You aren't weak. You aren't whatever bad things you tell yourself, okay? Keep working to get free. Keep working to get out, and repeat that affirmation to yourself as well. And if you saw something happen to someone else, remember that you are not the abuser. We aren't all heroes at all times. Sometimes the only thing we can do is survive. Sometimes we can't help, especially if our circumstances aren't much better. Commit to being a better human and bettering the world in whatever way you can, and let your pain go. The third thing that comes to mind is when you have to intentionally hurt someone to protect yourself. And here I want to share something sort of personal. I had someone in my life who kept hurting me and other people that I loved. This person wouldn't stop hurting us, and eventually I had to cut them out of my life. I had always given this person chances. I had always helped them when they needed it, even to my own detriment. But I knew I had to stop for my own mental and physical well-being. When this person later came to me for help, I knew I couldn't help them, and I didn't. I couldn't allow their toxic energy back into my life. It hurt me to say no because, first of all, I wasn't used to it. And second of all, I knew what that no meant for them, but I did it anyway. I prayed about it. I stayed up all night crying, and I second guessed myself, but I knew I had to allow that person to stand on their own. I had to turn away. I couldn't be an enabler anymore. This was one of the hardest and most painful things I've ever had to do. Sometimes I still wonder if I did the right thing or if I should walk back my stance. Maybe I was too harsh. Maybe they changed. Maybe it'll be different this time. They are hurting and I'm adding to that pain. And those were just some of the nicer things I said to myself. I used to punish myself because I felt terrible for turning my back on this person. And for a while, I thought maybe I should suffer too. One day during my meditations, the thought of why kept coming up. Why are you doing this to yourself? Think about the reason you made that decision. There was no point in making it if you're still allowing yourself to suffer, you know? It took some inner work, books, and a lot of positive self-talk, but I eventually found peace with my decision. I forgave myself, and through forgiving myself, I've been able to live a much healthier and happier life. I realized that I can't carry the burdens of other people on my back or it would kill me. And y'all, I want to live. Of course, it won't be easy, and maybe this episode will be your first step. Talk to a professional if you need to. Have a conversation with yourself. And if it's productive, have a conversation with the person or other people involved. Do what you have to do to begin forgiving yourself, because if you want to live a happy and productive life, you've got to do it. There's no way around it. Tell me what you think about self-forgiveness on Twitter or Instagram at apositivethoughtpod. And please share this podcast episode with at least one person who you think needs to hear it, because I would appreciate that so much. Until tomorrow, that's today's positive thought.